That's right.
Good afternoon and a warm welcome to the Norwich High School Careers YouTube channel. Please could you introduce yourself?
I can. So my name is Gilly Brunton. I'm a registered nutritionist and I'm registered with the Association for Nutrition, which is the national organisation that verifies whether we're real or not. And I'm currently living in Warwickshire, but my practice is in Leicestershire.
Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
So what does your job involve?
So a nutritionist is someone that studies nutrients. And a lot of the time I'm asked, well, what's the difference between a nutritionist and a dietitian and your GP? So I like to look at it like this. A dietitian and a nutritionist are very similar, but a nutritionist is more about preventative health care and will work with athletes, for example, and people from all walks of life. A dietitian is generally based in a hospital or a medical institution and is more reactive. So a dietitian and a general practitioner would be like a lifeguard. So if there's something wrong with you, seriously wrong, they'll save your life. And a nutritionist is more like a swim teacher who will stop you from drowning in the first place. So the role of the nutritionist, while we do work with clinical patients, is more free, I suppose, to do preventative healthcare, which this country really needs. But on top of that, we're not governed as tightly as dietitians. Dietitians can only follow NICE guidelines, which are the government guidelines, a lot of which it's decades old in terms of the approaches that they have to use. A nutritionist can look at the latest piece of research and say, wow, that's something that I'm buying into, therefore I can recommend it to the clients or patients that I work with.
So what has been your journey to become qualified?
So funnily enough, I've had a very strange journey. Straight out of university, I did a Bachelor of Science, Sports Science, and went to work in professional football. So I worked for Southampton Football Club first and then Leicester City Football Club. Was the first woman employed in my role. I set the academies up at both clubs and was assistant academy director, but had more of a admin / empathetic role, caring role, looking after the players. At that time, it was under 21, under 19, and the age groups all the way down to under 8s. And then I did my PGCE and became a physical education teacher, moved out to the Middle East, spent 6 years in Dubai, and came back to London, worked as a partnership development manager and looked after all the, this is going back now, but the school sports coordinators that were in all the schools. I looked after a borough in London and then went back to Dubai, got a job working for the royal family as head of PE and had a great role there, had a great job there, then started doing some consultancy, worked for myself in Dubai on physical activity initiatives on a grand scale, worked for Nike, worked for Mars, did consultancy for the government, worked for the ICC for those cricketers out there because it's based out in the UAE, and just had a great time. Moved to Valencia, decided I wanted to retrain, had a real interest in nutrition myself, did a lot of training myself, and retrained, first of all, recertified as a nutritionist, did a 1-year mentored program with an American company, became a health coach, became a nutritionist, certified nutritionist, and then I thought I need more credibility, so I came back to the UK and did my master's in applied human nutrition, and I was working full-time with clients and did a master's full-time, so that was a very crazy year, and started working for myself, and then was offered a job with a company called Independent Clinical Services who do diabetes prevention nationally. So they're contracted to the GP surgeries and each county to try and drop the rates of diabetes. Then pandemic hit, lost my job, and thought, what can I do? I've got a choice I can set up, but people were approaching me to say, I need help. This is the first time we've ever been in lockdown. I'm not good if I'm stuck in the house. I need some accountability and some direction. And in July last year, got my own facility over in Leicestershire. So I have a little practice there now, and work from home, work from there. And that takes us up to today.
Amazing. I can certainly relate to the fridge being directly beside me during lockdown and the challenges of not going to the fridge every half an hour. So
Yeah,
what would you say?
There's a lot of people like that.
Yeah. So what would you say you enjoy the most about your job?
I love it. I work with individuals. I work with all age groups. I get some really interesting conditions, digestive conditions or diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. And the best thing is when you turn people's measures around. So it's always better for people to come with blood measures, or you arrange that for them, and then you notice that they have life-changing experiences where either they've been, quite ill, or they've realized that if they don't change their ways, they're either going to reduce, years from their life, or they've had quite a serious conversation with their specialist or doctor, and then you send them back to their specialist or doctor and their blood measures have all sorted themselves out. They feel incredible. I've even had a client who couldn't tie his own shoelaces, was really immobile, worked with him for 24 weeks, and the moment he said, I can tie my own shoelaces now, it sounds ridiculous, but it was such a great thing that, you're making a massive impact to people's lives and livelihoods.
Absolutely. That's so wonderful. And I think when you're in a job, being able to make such a big difference to other people, you really thrive on that. And that's why you go to work every day. It's really lovely to hear. So what skills and qualities do you think make a good nutritionist?
Obviously, you have to be reputable. So you need experience and you need to be registered, because you can be an associate nutritionist, which is where you kind of straight out of university. You need to do 3 years experience as an associate, then you can move into registered. You need to be empathetic, so you have to be a good listener, and you need to try and the skill of sifting someone's truth from all the muddle that they have to try and find out what it is they really want, what they really want to achieve. It's a lot of psychology as well. Why do people do the things they do? Why are people practicing certain habits and healthy behaviors? So talking to people and understanding them is probably one of the biggest skills that you need to develop.
So based on your experiences with athletes and professional sport, why would you say that nutrition is particularly important for young people and young athletes?
It's the most important element for anybody. So for health or for performance, if you imagine a triangle, the base and biggest layer, the foundation, is nutrition. Because you cannot perform, you cannot train, you cannot recover without the right nutrition. And there's some great sayings, you can't outrun the fork, you can't out-train a bad diet, and it's true, you can't. You can do you could have the best quality coaches and trainers in the world, but if your nutrition is not exactly on point for you, and you're not getting the right macronutrients, protein, carbohydrate, fats, in the right proportions, and you're not having meals that we would say are balanced depending on the macronutrient splits that you require, but also the micronutrients are everything, and people really underestimate the power that micronutrients have. So most women in the world, 2/3 are iron deficient. So unless you understand iron, and not only are you eating enough and consuming enough iron in the diet, but is your body absorbing the iron? Is it transporting the iron? Is it storing the iron? And all of those things we can tell through blood measures. But if you don't have iron, you've got a real problem which will overspill into hemoglobin. And obviously with hemoglobin, you're talking about oxygen transportation. Without optimizing your oxygen transportation, you're not performing as well as you need to. So when you look at an issue with an individual and you start stripping back, generally it can come to nutrition or a deficiency in something. So you need to then be able to prescribe the correct dietary protocol, not a diet. A dietary protocol is very different, specifically looking at optimizing performance of the individual. And then I suppose after nutrition, the thing that people also underestimate is sleep. So sleep would be the next layer. Who knows which is out of nutrition and sleep? They're very close, but I say nutrition is the foundation, sleep is the next aspect. If you sleep poorly, you can forget the best nutrition in the world, the best training in the world. So those two things you should really concentrate on. And the thing about sleep, it can impact your choices the next day in terms of nutrition, and the nutrition can impact your sleep. So they work in a chicken egg scenario, but tweaking both and getting both on point will maximize performance.
It's really interesting, actually, because having played a decent level of hockey throughout my career, I can really relate to the sleep. I always knew in the background my nutrition was really important, but I don't think I realised how important sleep was until we went away, for example, for a tournament, or we went away for pre-season, and then I was sleeping in a different environment with somebody else in a hotel. And I used to wake up the next day not feeling my best. And it always was, when those situations came about, my performance the next day was nowhere near as good, because we may have gone out for pizza in the evening, which is the nutritional element, and then I didn't get enough sleep. So I can really, really relate to what you've just said, absolutely. So for a young athlete who does not have the best nutritional plan, or feels that they need to lose weight in order to maximize their performance, and therefore isn't consuming enough of macronutrients and micronutrients, what would happen to that person after a period of time?
They would just burn out. Adrenal glands, I mean, there's a lot about adrenal fatigue. Very few people actually have it, but your adrenals can either be performing well or performing poorly. They're a very, very small gland, if you like, and they are there to take on stress, if you like, for your body and process stress, and then they also get rid of some excess hormones. But again, understanding hormones and the endocrine system is absolutely everything for sports performance. But you could go down a whole other rabbit hole with that. So there's 9 hormones that will impact weight anyway. And they're like dominoes. They fall over, one knocks the other, they all start falling over. So good nutrition, good sleep is going to really help pick those dominoes back up so that hormonally you're performing well. So the adrenal gland can't differentiate between emotional and physical stress. So if you've got exam stress, it's lockdown, things might be difficult at home, it's hard at school, you've got exams coming up, whatever it might be, all of this emotional stress is actually being filtered through your body, and your adrenal glands can't tell if that's physical stress, like you've just ran up Ben Nevis, at speed, or it has to deal with the stress and get rid of certain toxins and stuff. So that's the first thing to consider. So adrenal pressure, if you like, is going to lead to fatigue. And fatigue is everything, whether you're going to be able to train appropriately or whether you're going to recover well. So if you're not eating properly, you're adding additional stress into the adrenal gland, and it's just not getting a break anywhere, emotionally, physically, through training. On top of that, then, if you're not eating well and you're not respecting sleep, really, and you've got all of this other stress going on, and then you try and train, you're just adding to the problem. You would actually be better just to completely rest at really high stress pressure times, or go for a walk the dog, go in nature, do some yoga, do something that's more restorative than trying to beast it in training, because it will just be completely counterproductive. What happens with one of the hormones, which is cortisol, is if you're not eating properly and you're highly stressed, cortisol is a fat storer. So it's our fight or flight hormone, which we need when we're doing competitive sport, because it gives us that extra edge. But also, if it remains too high, post-game, post-event, whatever it might be, it will encourage you to hold fat, and that particular fat is usually around the middle, which is the visceral fat. So you've got to learn to de-stress. You know, there's lots of stuff about meditation, but whatever your thing is, having a bath by yourself with a candle on, whatever it might be, that's actually going to encourage you to be less of a fat storer. So all these restorative things and putting them in the right place and planning them through your week are super, super important.
So who would you say is your role model?
I don't know if you would actually know any of my role models, because I'm a CrossFitter and I have been for about 8 years now, before it kind of got popular in the UK. So there's quite a lot of girls that compete in the CrossFit world, and there's quite a lot of masters. So they've now moved it, so masters start at 35, but in CrossFit they go 35 to 40, 40 to 45, 45 and up. There's a lady who, I reckon she might be in the 60 plus category. Her name's Shelley Eddington. She's absolutely phenomenal. Oh, wow. Phenomenal in terms of her aesthetics, how athletic she is. She's super strong. She's a machine. She's got a hashtag which is not done yet, because she's like, well, I'm early 60s and look at me, I'm competing against these 20-year-olds. Wow. So somebody like that, or there's the number one in the sport is Tia Claire Toomey. She's an Aussie. She's just incredible. Her physique to me it says everything about what women should strive for. She looks strong. She looks fit. We say now strong is the new skinny. Skinny's out, strong is in. But just her mindset, she's got a really good kind of psychology teacher in her husband, and it's all about mindset. So I'd probably say those two.
And finally, what advice would you give to your 15-year-old self?
Gosh, I think I might have taken more advice for career. At the time, when I was leaving school, I was advised to be a journalist. Wow. So I would say now part of my job is kind of journalism. I write articles, I contribute to Women's Health magazine. So I write modules for my courses, so my clients go through an educational component. But I never, thought I would be a journalist. And I think when I look back now, I wish that I had maybe become a doctor and done it when I, straight from A levels, gone in and done that 7-year program. And I think I probably still would do what I do now, but I would be Dr. Brunton, yes, specialist in nutrition, rather than Gilly Brunton, registered nutritionist. So, I think I probably would have had more conversations with people that, maybe could have inspired me, or looked into what I really wanted to do a bit more seriously. I was all about sport, which I get it, young people are, and I just thought, oh, I'll go to university so I can play, you know, for the university netball team. And yeah, I didn't probably look ahead and think, wow, you know, what will I be doing in 30 years' time?
Lovely. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
You're welcome.
Yay. Oh, that was